Gopichana Balaba Girivaradhari Vijana Balaba Gopichana Balaba Giridharadhari Jasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shishi Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Shishi Radha Vrindavan Chandra Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitai Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. I have a special announcement. If you stay for the whole class, you get Mahaprasada. 2 cups of Maha have just appeared here. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I've chosen this verse today as part of the topic of the seminar. It has, in the translation, at least in the, yes, Atma Druk. And Prabhupada translates it as envious of himself. So we got confused. There are other places where this phrase is used. Envious, how can you be envious of yourself? Because generally you're envious of someone who has something you want but you don't have. So how could you be envious of yourself? Because you already have it. And so from my study I concluded that the way Prabhupada uses envy is a synonym for hatred or destruction, violence. It's just any act which is harmful for oneself. So let's take it that way. Otherwise, we have difficulty making sense of it. Savanchito bhatatmadruk anchito krichtrena mahata bhuvi labdva pavargyam manusham vishayeshu vishajjate savanchita bhatatmadruk krichtrena mahata bhuvi labdva pavargyam manusham vishayeshu vishajjate savanchito bhatatmadruk krichtrena mahata bhuvi mahata labdva pavargyam manusham vishayeshu vishajjate. Savanchita vitatmadruk Anshita bhatatmadruk sajjate Anshita bhatatmadruk krichtrena mahat. Ladies? Anshita bhatatmadruk krichtrena mahata bhuvi pavarga manusham vishayeshu visajjate Anshita bhatatmadruk krichtrena mahata bhuvi pavarga manusham. Word meanings: Saha he vanchitaha cheated, bhata certainly, atmadruk envious of himself, krichtrena with great difficulty, mahata by great activities, bhuvi in this world, labdva by achieving, apavargyam the path of liberation, manusham in the human form of life, vishayeshu in the matter of sense gratification, visajjate becomes engaged. Translation: any person who engages himself within this material world in performing activities that necessitate great struggle, and who, after obtaining a human form of life, which is a chance to obtain liberation from miseries, undertakes the difficult tasks of fruitive activities, must be considered to be cheated and envious of his own self. So we can repeat that. Any person who engages himself within this material world in performing activities that necessitate great struggle, and who, after obtaining a human form of life, which is a chance to obtain liberation from miseries, undertakes the difficult tasks of fruitive activities, must be considered to be cheated and envious of his own self. So who's cheating who? One is cheating oneself. Purport. In this material world, people are engaged in different activities simply to achieve a little success in sense gratification. The karmis are engaged in performing very difficult activities, and thus they open gigantic factories, build huge cities, make big scientific discoveries, etc. In other words, they are engaged in performing very costly sacrifices in order to be promoted to the higher planetary systems. Similarly, yogis are engaged in achieving a similar goal by accepting the tedious practices of mystic yoga. Jnanis are engaged in philosophical speculation in order to gain release from the clutches of material nature. In these ways, everyone is engaged in performing very difficult tasks, simply for sense gratification, simply for gratification of the senses. All of these are considered to be engaged in sense gratificatory activities, or vishaya, because they all demand some facility for material existence. Actually, the results of such activities are temporary, as Krishna himself proclaims in Bhagavad Gita 7:23, Antavatu palam te sham. The fruits of those who worship the demigods are limited and temporary. Thus the fruits of the activities of the yogis, karmis, jnanis, and jnanis are ephemeral. Moreover, Krishna says, Tad bhavati alpamedasam. They are simply meant for men of small intelligence. The word vishaya denotes sense gratification. The karmis flatly state that they want sense gratification. The yogis also want sense gratification, but they want it to a higher degree. It is their desire to show some miraculous results through the practice of yoga. Thus they strive very hard to achieve success in becoming smaller than the smallest or greater than the greatest, or in creating a planet like Earth, or as scientists by inventing so many wonderful machines. Similarly, the jnanis are also engaged in sense gratification, for they are simply interested in becoming one with the Supreme. Thus, the aim of all these activities is sense gratification to a higher or lower degree. The bhaktas, however, are not interested in sense gratificatory practices. They are simply satisfied to get an opportunity to serve the Lord. Although they are satisfied in any condition, there is nothing they cannot obtain, because they are purely engaged in the service of the Lord. The wives of the demigods condemn the performers of sense gratificatory activities as vanchita, cheated. Those so engaged are actually killing themselves, atmaha, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:2017. Nrideham adyam shulabham sudurlabham plavam sukhalbham guru kamadharam mayanukulyena nabha shvateritam umam bhavadim nataret sa atmaha. When one wants to cross a large ocean, he requires a strong boat. It is said that this human form of life is a good boat by which one can cross the ocean of nescience. In the human form of life, one can obtain the guidance of a good navigator, the spiritual master. One also gets a favorable wind by the energy of Krishna, and that wind is the instructions of Krishna. The human body is the boat, the instruction of the Lord Krishna are the favorable winds. And the spiritual master is the navigator. The spiritual master knows well how to adjust the sails to catch the wind favorably and steer the boat to its destination. If, however, one does not take advantage of this opportunity, one wastes the human form of life. Wasting time and life in this way is the same as committing suicide. Hare Krishna. I'll read that again. Wasting time and life in this way is the same as committing suicide. Because we kill our chance to go back to Godhead. So, the word labdva pavagyam is significant in this verse because according to Jiva Goswami, apavagyam, or the path of liberation, does not refer to merging into the impersonal Brahman, but to Salokyadi Siddhi, which means attaining the very planet where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. There are 5 kinds of liberation, and one is called Sayuja Mukti, or merging into the existence of the Supreme, or the impersonal Brahman effulgence. However, since there is a chance of one's falling down again into the material sky from the Brahman effulgence, Srila Jiva Goswami advises that in this human form of life, one's only aim should be to go back home, back to Godhead. The words savanchita indicate that once a person has obtained the human form of life, he is actually cheated if he does not make preparations to go back home, back to Godhead. The position of all non-devotees who are not interested in going back to Godhead is very much lamentable, for the human form of life is meant for executing devotional service and nothing else. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I think the message is clear, isn't it? You know what to do now, right? There's some other things Prabhupada said that are similar that I could read. You remember yesterday I mentioned that in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada said that one should not work more than 8 hours. But we could say, in a sense, people are working 24 hours to enjoy the material world. At another time, Prabhupada said, in the spiritual world, I mentioned this yesterday, in the spiritual world you don't have to work. And when you work here, it's a punishment. Although nobody thinks that or realizes that. That's the reality. Okay. So, Prabhupada was asked a question. Srila Prabhupada, what is our greatest enemy, or what is the greatest obstacle to bhakti? If you don't know the answer, I'll give you a hint. In the morning when you're brushing your teeth and you look in the mirror, that's your greatest obstacle. In the retreat, we had mentioned that there was a movie in which a boxer was shadow boxing, which means he was boxing his own image. And his trainer said, your obstacle is not the person you have to fight, it's the person in the mirror. If you conquer that, then you can conquer everyone else. So, Prabhupada's answer, this is from a morning walk in Paris, June 12, 1974. He himself, the question is, who is the greatest obstacle, or what is the greatest obstacle? He himself. Because he's a rascal. He's his greatest enemy. So just get out of this rascaldom. Rascaldom is actually a word in the dictionary. Did you know that? I had it looked up in one class because I thought it was like a Prabhupadism. It's actually a word. If someone can look on your phone to confirm. But last time we checked, it was a real word. So you just get out of this rascaldom. Rascaldom means being, the state of being a rascal, basically. So you just get out of this rascaldom and you become your friend. Nobody is enemy. Wow. So just get out of this rascaldom and you become your friend. Nobody is enemy. You are yourself your enemy. Hare Krishna. Yeah, you ever blame somebody for your own problem? The Prabhupada saying, no. The problem is out there, and Prabhupada saying, no. The problem is not out there. We are the problem. There is an example. You may have heard of this example. If you take an orange and squeeze it, obviously what comes out of the orange is orange juice because that's what's inside. And obviously pineapple juice doesn't come out because it's an orange, it's not a pineapple. So life squeezes us and then things come out of us. And we blame it on the squeezer. Like if you squeeze an orange and the orange blames you for the juice. And obviously that's foolish. So the same idea is that we get squeezed, so whatever in us comes out, but we blame it on the squeezer. You make me angry. That idea. So Prabhupada's saying, no, realize that you will be the cause of your own liberation, or you will be the cause of your own suffering. And we were talking in the course about this problem that sometimes faces devotees when they say like, yeah, I know that, but somehow or other I don't care. Like, if you do this, it's bad for you. I know that, but somehow I don't care. And we can see from this verse and other verses that Prabhupada's saying, no, you should care. Like, don't not care. I want you to care. I'm here to tell you to care. Now, interesting thing in this purport, Prabhupada's talking about going back to Godhead, and going back to Godhead is like what we should be doing. And sometimes it's confusing because we say, well, I thought I shouldn't want to go back to Godhead. I should just, love Krishna, and wherever he sends me, he sends me. That is there on a higher level. But as we know, Prabhupada on several occasions said, don't make me come back to get you. So he definitely wants us to go back to Godhead. And even if you don't even care whether you go back to Godhead, you should care, because if you don't, Prabhupada has to come back and get you. So, as Prabhupada said, don't make me come back. Just, get out. I came to get you out, so just get out. That's my mission. And if you don't get out, I have to come and pick you up again. So, there is this higher responsibility also beyond, ourselves. I don't really care, yeah, but we have to be a little more mature than just whether I care or not about myself, because maybe we don't care, unfortunately. But Prabhupada cares. And sometimes in spiritual life, we're motivated to do something not because we want to, not because we're inspired, isn't it? But because our spiritual master wants us to do it. And so we don't just exist for ourselves, we exist for the service of community, the world, the service of our Guru specifically. And so this is the way around I don't care. Okay, you don't care, but your Guru does. So just do what he wants. Hare Krishna. But this, I love this statement of Srila Prabhupada. There is no enemy but ourselves. It's so beautiful and so important. And if we embody that statement, then wouldn't it make sense to make friends with yourself? Wouldn't it make sense to take care of yourself? Knowing that, like, in a sense, in a very big sense, your own liberation is really in your hands. It's like nobody can do it for you. And if you just are kind on yourself, take care of yourself, stop denigrating yourself and making excuses, and just say, no, this is what Prabhupada wants, and I'm going to stop beating around the bush and I'm just going to do it. Wouldn't that be the best thing you could do for yourself? The greatest kindness you could give, the greatest gift? Another thing I think is really important, another way of looking at this, we had mentioned this briefly yesterday, I believe. To see what Prabhupada's giving us as his gift to us. Like every instruction is a gift, isn't it? Because every instruction is like, it's just another way to get closer to Krishna. It's another strategy. You could see it that way. You know, when you're trying to achieve something, you'll have different strategies. Every instruction Prabhupada gives is like a strategy, how to disentangle ourselves, right? So, if we could look at Prabhupada's instructions as gifts to us, to disentangle us and get us a little closer to Krishna and closer to going back to Godhead, then think, if I don't follow that instruction, I'm giving the gift back, which is pretty bad. I mean, you could imagine you gave someone a gift, it's a very important gift. You risk your life to give them the gift, and you go, I'm not really, interested in your gift. How does the person feel? Not good, obviously. Beyond not good, disappointed, frustrated, etc. You can put yourself in that position. So that's a beautiful way of being a little more concerned about our liberation, because Prabhupada's concerned and we want to take his concern as his gift. The same thing with Krishna. What is Krishna doing? What's his business in coming here? His business in coming here is to get us out of here. He came here to get us out of here. So let's say, like somebody flies halfway around the world, and you're in difficulty and you need help, and they fly halfway around the world to help you, and with great difficulty they come and you say, no thanks, I'll just stay here. It's a bit like that. So Krishna comes, he speaks Bhagavad Gita. Why? Get us out, right? I see Bhagavad Gita like Krishna's like coming down and giving us a personal invitation, basically saying, your spiritual body is ready, your house is ready, your seva is ready, we've got you in a particular group, we've got your name, we've got your dress, everything is ready, we're only missing one thing. You, because you don't want to go. So, I think you should go, I think it's a good idea, and actually I want you to come, and I'm waiting for you, and so, I really love you, and why don't you just come back? That's where I want you. Yeah. I don't know. It's okay down here. No, we're not supposed to think that in such a stupid way. We're supposed to think, Krishna is giving me this gift. He's telling me I'll be happy. This will be better for me. I should have the sense to take it, right? And I should have not only the sense to take it, but the integrity to reciprocate with Krishna's love. Because how bad is a person who is loved and ignores it? Especially when it's coming from God. That's bad. I mean, some girl loves you, but you're like, no. I mean, that's bad, but maybe it's just not a good match. But when it's God and you reject it, that's bad. Don't you think? So these are ways in which we can kind of overcome whatever apathy we have or lethargy we have, or, yeah, I know Krishna, I know you love me, but I don't think you should, you know. Like this, there's a comedian, I think his name was George Burns. He said, I would never join any religion that had me because I'm such a, you know, bad person, that if they accepted me, you know, what crazy religion would that be? I wouldn't join it. You know, so that was his joke, you know. So I had a disciple who was, you know, we were talking about Krishna's love, and she had a really hard time accepting it because of the way she was raised, because she didn't get that love as a kid. And so it's just the concept of being loved. She said, you know, she had a grandmother who raised her, and her grandmother just told her, you're bad. That's how she grew up. So she thought, if Krishna loves me, why would I love him? Because he's made a big mistake, so he must not be that intelligent. That she actually felt that way, you know, because of how she was raised, you know. So like, why would I want a God who loves me? Because he must, like, you know, be a little senile or something. Something's wrong with him. You know? Or, of course, the other thing is like, well, yeah, he loves everybody, but not me. You ever go through that one? You know, how could he love me? Yeah, I know. He says I'm the Father, seed-giving Father of all living entities. Everyone's my part and parcel. I love them. I understand that, but not me. I'm a special case. He couldn't possibly love me. So some devotees go through that. We have to be reasonable, logical. Obviously, that's not true. So Krishna okay, I can make you feel a little guilty now. Please forgive me, but in a good way. Krishna has come down to give all of us a personal invitation to go back to Godhead. And Prabhupada has made an arrangement with Krishna that if we chant 16 rounds a day and follow 4 principles, Prabhupada will get us in the back door, qualified or not. What do you say? Let me think about it. I don't know. It's hard. "16 rounds, yeah, that's tough. And Prabhupada's looking at us like, what's wrong with you? Like, your head's screwed on backwards, you know. 16 rounds, that's Special Olympics. You know, nobody chants 16. In India, that's like, chant 16, we kick you out of the house, you know. And 4 principles, that's like, I don't know if I can follow, but so different. That's like, welcome to the human form of life. Now you're following 4 principles. You know, that's our position is like, it's so hard, it's so difficult. And Prabhupada's like, it's human life, excuse me. That's just what human beings do. Welcome to the human form. You got to be a human being to get the benefit of chanting Hare Krishna. You know? And it's like 16 rounds, that's like, you know, you can't get any lower than that and still get back to Godhead, you know. If I try to get you in the back door at below 16, they're going to say, sorry, this guy is like a case, you know. Send him back. Rehabilitate him, you know, let him try again. So Prabhupada's made all these impossible arrangements for us. And we're like, I don't know. It's too hard, yeah. I'm so fallen, you know. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So what are we saying? Let's translate that into what this verse is saying. We're saying, I prefer to cheat myself and be envious of myself. In other words, I prefer just to cheat myself and hate myself and stay in the material world forever, basically. Well, my dear devotees, do you know Lord Chaitanya comes once in a day of Brahma? Yeah, okay. Do you know how long that is? That's 8 billion, like 630 million approximately years. Till Lord Chaitanya comes again. Now, just in case you haven't noticed, you know, the odds are working for us. We made it, you know, 1 chance out of 8 billion. That's like, you know, go to Las Vegas with 1 out of 8 billion. You lose all your money. Somehow or other, 1 out of 8 billion, we're here. So it's like Prabhupada's saying, to us in so many of his classes. So, you're not saying it this way, but this is the basic message. So, what do they say? The snowball's chance in hell. You got a snowball's chance in hell to meet Lord Chaitanya, and you did it. Took you 8,630,000,000 years. You're here in the human form of life at the same time Prabhupada came. Wow. What are the chances of that happening next time around? I was in a class and Prabhupada said, if you don't become perfect, you'll come back, like in the family of yogis or the rich person's family, right? And this was in Los Angeles, and I grew up in Los Angeles, and the temple was like 3 miles from Beverly Hills, and I grew up like a mile from Beverly Hills, so I hung out there, and if you go above Beverly Hills, it's Bel Air. As you go into the mountains, it's even better, and I worked there, so I knew that. I was very familiar with that area. And Prabhupada said, and yes, you could be born in the family of a very wealthy person, and my mind went to Bel Air. I used to work for a drugstore, and I would deliver. People would call up and make orders, and I would deliver in Bel Air. And so I'd meet all the people in Bel Air. And the neighborhood I was in was just like a little below that, but it was a fairly wealthy neighborhood, and only one person in my neighborhood became a devotee, aside from me. And I had friends that went to India and they were into yoga. None of them became devotees. I don't know anyone in Beverly Hills or Bel Air of my friends that became devotees. So Prabhupada said, you could be born in a rich family in your next life, and even though you're a devotee in this life, he said, but you could become enamored by the wealth and position. So it's like, oh, bummer. I thought it would be easier the next time around. And Prabhupada's saying, the next time around, you may not even be a devotee. I don't believe anything's easier the next time around. It's like, you can do it now, so just do it. It's hard now, it's going to be hard then. Just do it. It's never easy. Yeah. So I think this verse is like beautifully important. It's nice to contextualize my actions when I'm trying to be Krishna conscious as self-loving, and when I'm avoiding what I should do, what's best for me, to realize I'm cheating myself. I'm being cheated by who? By me. Wow, that's really dumb, don't you think? I mean, if you cheat me, that's like, okay, I can kind of see it and deal with it. But if I cheat myself, what could be worse than that? So I'm cheating myself, and I'm committing, in Prabhupada's words, violence to myself, and as this purport ended, I'm committing spiritual suicide. I'm doing it to myself. As we read yesterday in class, why is it spiritual suicide? Because you could be Krishna conscious. You could make that choice, or you could choose to come back. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, it's like, it just doesn't make sense. You don't know. Like right here, we have the opportunity to be Krishna conscious. You don't know in the future what's going to happen, right? We see that even you're born in a family of devotees. It's like, like so many of the children who are born as devotees will say, at some point in my life, I actually had to surrender. I had to make a decision. Do I really want to be a devotee, or what kind of devotee do I want to be? So even you're born in a family of devotees, it's just like, still those decisions have to be made. The same, you're born in a family of devotees, the same Maya's there, right? Isn't it? Sometimes even bigger, because you never did the Maya. A lot of us did so much Maya that when we became devotees, it's like, I'm never doing that again. We had this devotee in San Francisco, 1970. He left, and everybody said, like in 1970, if someone left, it was like, Joe Biden just sends, I'm not going to be president anymore. I'm playing golf. I'm give up. It's too hard. It's like a shock, He said, why are you leaving? He said, all of you were hippies. I wasn't. You all had illicit sex and drugs. And so you're all like, finished with it. He said, I never did it. I got to go out and get burned out. I mean, there's some truth to it, isn't it? I'm not recommending it, but there's some truth to it. So now you're born as a devotee, and it's like, okay, no sinful life your whole life. That's good sometimes. But sometimes, the kids want to go out and do it. So it's not, I'm just trying to say, it's not easy even if you're born in a family of devotees. Like, well, Prabhu, I'm just not that Krishna conscious. I'm just not that motivated, but maybe in my next life. And what's the thought? It's going to be easier. Nah. If you hate yourself in your next life, if you're lazy in your next life, what's going to happen? Same thing. Right? I mean, and the other thing is, how do you know you weren't a lazy rascal in your last life and you're just doing it now? You don't know that, right? You think, I'll do it next life. When I do japa retreats, I make a little joke with everyone. I say, do you know why you're here in this japa retreat? And everyone's, we have your own idea, but people could sense I'm going somewhere. And they're like, no, why am I here? I say, because you were in a japa retreat in your last life and you fell asleep. And you didn't pay attention, so you had to come back in this life and do it again. So that, there's some truth to that, right? Because you don't know. Like, you go to Gaudiya Math, they say 3 lives to go back to God. I said, well, how do I know if I'm in my first, second, or third? So, my impetus in one of the impetuses, is that a word? Impetuses? One of my, is that a word? Impetuses? It is now. Amongst the many impetuses, one of them that I had was to isolate why. What is this? I don't care. Why is it there? Where does it come from? It was just very curious for me because sometimes I knew I should do something, but I didn't, and I would just say, I don't care. Like where is that coming from? And my sense is that it's a universal problem, probably associated with tamaguna, but I think it's a universal problem. At least it's I don't know, universal. It's common. And I was trying to understand that in myself. With everything that Prabhupada's giving us, why would I say I don't care? It doesn't make any sense. It's like antithetical. It's almost offensive to Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada, but I don't care. You should get up early, you should do sadhana, you should chant your rounds. Yeah, I know, but I don't care. It's like slinging mud in Prabhupada, isn't it, in a sense? So I think it's important to look at it that way, that I don't care is almost offensive to Prabhupada, who cares so much about you. Like the father cares about the child and the kids say, I don't care, you should eat this. I don't care. Isn't that what kids say? Eat your spinach. I don't care. Sweets are bad for you. I don't care. Right? That's the 16-year-old brain or the 8-year-old brain or whatever. Right? So, anyway, I think we can end here. Oh, wait. Let's see what else. Okay. Okay. We'll end here. Any comments or questions? Yes. Which one?
We're our own enemy. Papa said.
Yeah, that's Morning Walk, June 12th, 1974.
Okay. Morning walk, June 12th.
So, let me say something. I don't know. Maybe this is stupid. Maybe it's profound. Sometimes I can't tell. But after teaching the self-care course a few times and becoming more keenly aware of the variety of ways we cheat ourselves, like all the negative thinking and berating and all the varieties of that, and the actions which we do which are bad for us, which we don't want to sometimes don't even want to acknowledge. Just every aspect of our existence in which we do things that are bad for us, it started to pile up, and I was, there's more ways than I thought. And then the verse, the mind can be the friend or enemy, I was looking at this and saying, we don't realize this verse, we don't realize the depth of this verse, because there's so many ways in which we're our own enemy we are not always even aware of. Sometimes it's so subtle you don't even know. You have beliefs, you don't even know you have them, and the beliefs are working against you. So, this verse, the mind is a friend or enemy, is like, it's you can really unpack it in many ways. Yes. Uttama.
You were elaborating a lot on our kind of apathy, I don't care. Seems like there's also the component that people don't have the strength. You want to elaborate on that?
Well, that not having the strength. Well, one thing we could say about there's so many ways I could go with this. When I'll tell you a story. This is like really beautiful. There was a devotee who everyone liked and everyone felt was sincere, but they didn't have the strength to always follow the 4 principles. It's probably illicit sex or drugs, one or the other, or both. And so, they'd go a few months and then they'd slip. That kind of devotee, like they're super sincere, but they're super weak. And they ended up telling Prabhupada about this devotee. He said he's very sincere, but periodically he gives in, and so they use the word weak, like what you're saying, weak. And Prabhupada shot back in 1 nanosecond. Why are you giving in to weakness? It's like, and so what I heard, but when I unpacked it, what I heard Prabhupada saying is, if your goal is to be Krishna conscious, and that's your purpose, why would you give into anything which would divert you from your purpose? And so that was like Prabhupada's mood. The interesting thing is, people who have goals, that's how they think, right? It's like nothing's
Because you don't feel worthy. It's coming back to your course.
Yeah. Okay, that could be there. That's why I'm saying there's different ways to do it. So at least this is one way, one context we can put it in. Okay, then let's go with I don't feel worthy. But Prabhupada's context is Krishna consciousness is too valuable to allow anything to get in the way, even I don't feel worthy. So I should work on that because it's getting in the way, or whatever it is. I'm lazy or tamasic. I don't care. Whatever it is, I shouldn't allow that because it's too important. So if we can help ourselves and others get to the point where this life I must be Krishna conscious no matter what, then I'll be able to start dealing with, then I'll realize, yeah, I'm working against myself, I don't feel worthy, whatever it is. I need to work on that. There's something wrong with that, because I can see it as an obstacle, and I will try to remove every obstacle. Is that okay, or you want to add to that? Yeah, so, I think this is a super important point, because a lot of times we're trying to help people overcome an obstacle, but the point is they don't care enough about the goal, and it makes it really hard to overcome the obstacle because you can't motivate them. But if you can get them to become more interested and invested in the goal, it's easier to help them overcome the other obstacles, because it's like somehow or other, if you want to go back to God in this lifetime, this big obstacle that seems insurmountable, you're going to figure out how to get over it, because you're not going to allow that, right? To get in the way between you and Krishna. So one of the ways I like to explain it to devotees, when I'll just ask them, like, what do you think is your biggest or one of your biggest obstacles? And they'll say, this is. And say, okay. So let's say you're in therapy. you and Krishna are in therapy. And you go, Krishna, this is my issue with you. Or this is my issue that's getting in the way of my relationship with you. It's not your fault, it's my issue. And so I say, so, are you going to allow this issue to get in the way of your relationship with Krishna? And when you put it that way, it's like, oh. It's just like the husband and wife, you know. Everything's good, but there's this one issue that's destroying the relationship, destroying the family. Are you going to allow this issue to destroy your family? The mediator puts it, or the counselor puts it that way. It's like, oh, no. So I think it's also a good way to think. You have this, you know, I'm so attached to this, I can't give up this, I'm so much this, I'm so much that, I don't care this, I don't care that. Are you going to allow that to get in your relationship with Krishna? Because that's what's happening. That one or two things, that's it, you know. And so it's good to look at it that way, I think. And so to help ourselves or help others get to that point where we just ask them, is this relationship you have with Krishna important enough to you to wanna, or like to be invested enough to get over this? And if you say yes, then you can do it, right? You agree? Or you want to add something? Or? Yeah. So I think that's, you know, and when people aren't motivated, I always say, read Prabhupada's books more. Because really that's what Prabhupada's doing. Isn't it? Is he's like trying to convince us dull-headed people, like, hello, you know, 10 zillion, quadrillion, kabillion, gajillion lifetimes, and now you have a spiritual master. Like, you might just consider, like, you might be a little serious about it. You're like, what do you think? Is that a good idea? You know, that's, you know, Prabhupada's politely, you know, knocking us on the head like, hello, you know, you can do it in this life. So I think as teachers, that's one of the greatest services that we can do is to motivate people to a point where they're willing, no matter what, to continue. And they'll deal with their stuff. Because you can deal. Okay. This is really depressing. Can I tell you this? I have gone to seminars that are like 12 hours a day and very expensive, like for a week, with people who fly in from around the world. So they spend a lot of time and a lot of money, right? And they're dealing with stuff that a lot of devotees will run away from. And I'm sitting there watching them deal with it, going, oh my God, like, why are they willing to deal with this stuff and we're not? Like, you know, because they're invested in their material success and their material happiness more than we're invested in becoming Krishna conscious. These people are so open and so vulnerable and so willing to just lay their stuff on the table and deal with it and have teachers call them out and go, yeah, you're right. You've seen it, right? It's just very interesting to see that. It's like when a person's invested in a goal, it's pretty much they're willing to do anything. And so we just need to be invested in the goal of becoming Krishna conscious and get beyond the, it's too hard. I don't know. But, you know, if you want butts, there's like plenty of butts around. You want butts, just join ISKCON. You'll get all the butts you need, you know. Isn't it? If you're a butt collector, join ISKCON. Maybe we should make a t-shirt. If you're a butt collector, join ISKCON. Yes.
Namaste.
Hare Krishna.
When you were saying that we are cheating on ourselves,
Yes.
how would I know that I'm cheating myself?
Yeah. Anything that you do that is not helping you spiritually, then you're cheating yourself. And that could be something material that you're doing that's harmful, but it's having a harmful effect also on your spiritual life.
But when we are immersed, it's like a drop in the ocean. So when we are so immersed in our life and mind and what we have learned, you know, and it's difficult to see it.
Yeah.
and then to discriminate and say,
Yeah,
let me
that's
drop
true.
it.
That's true. Two things I would say. Number one, to progress in spiritual life, we have to become very introspective. So there are reasons that it's sometimes difficult to see. I mean, by nature, some people are not introspective. But there's some things we're afraid to see, so we just don't see them because they're too hard to bear. The ego couldn't confront the fact that, it's like, if you have a self-image as a good person, and you do something bad, you will not even notice it, because you can't conceive that you could do anything bad. And if someone says you did something bad, you say, no, I didn't. That's how difficult it is. So if we can deflate the false ego a little bit and be more anxious to see what we need to improve, it can become easier. And don't just have we have to give up the self-image that I'm perfect, I'm good, everything I do is great, and like that, because that makes introspection impossible, because you can't get beyond that to see what you're not doing well. So that's one thing. And so for spiritual life, introspection is essentially important, which means we have to be open to the reality of our faults, even when we don't believe we have them. But what also makes it easier is to have a guru or a mentor who can just say, I see this problem in you. And you go, really? I didn't notice it. Yeah. And if you, then you're really cheating yourself once the problem is pointed out and you don't give it up. And you see that this action is bad for me, but I continually do it. Then you're cheating yourself. Now, the problem is we're conditioned, we're habituated. So sometimes, let's say I find fault with people. I'm sarcastic, I make jokes. And so someone points it out, and I say, I know. But it's conditioned. And so I have to be very motivated to improve myself, to deal with that, because I've been sarcastic and critical, for a million lifetimes. So it's not going to be easy, but it's necessary. And I always say, not easy, but necessary. Or not easy, but essential. So it goes back to the same point. If someone points out a fault or we see it, and it's difficult, this is my nature, I'm always like that. But I realize this is bad for me. I shouldn't do this. It's bad for my relationships. I've got some work. But Krishna will help you if you're sincere. He'll give you intelligence. It's so beautiful. Krishna's within us. The most intelligent being is within us. And so if we want to solve these problems, he'll guide us. And it may not come from within. He may send somebody and say, I think, you should probably be better if you did this and not that. And you were praying like 3 seconds before that to the Super Soul, and the Super Soul sent the person next to you and just noticed something. So it can work that way. So we're very safe. I think the biggest the biggest problem really is we don't want to advance, because Krishna is, like I said yesterday, Krishna says yes. So you say, it's really hard to chant my rounds, and Krishna says, yes it is, because he's just agreeing with you. And you say, actually chanting my rounds is blissful, and Krishna says, yes it is. So wherever you're going, Krishna's saying, okay, let's just keep going that way. So if you show Krishna, okay, here's a problem, it's difficult, I need help with this, and Krishna says, yes, I'll help you. But if you have that problem and you don't even know it, or you have it and you don't want to do anything, Krishna says, okay, we'll do nothing, because you don't know you have it, or you know you have it, but you don't care, so we're going to do nothing about it. And here's the Supreme Lord of the Universe, who could do everything to help you, who's doing nothing to help you, because you're not asking for it. Is that not cheating yourself? It is, don't you think? Yeah, I know I have this problem, but I'm so conditioned, so hard to overcome it. And then we do the ultimate cheating. I can never overcome it. That's like, okay, well, just give up on that problem, and I'll have to work on it in my next life, because the ultimate guilt-free excuse is just my nature, Prabhu. It's just how I am. So now I don't have to feel guilty, and I can be in ignorance and do the wrong thing, and I've got the perfect excuse. wow, is that cheating yourself or is that cheating yourself? That's what we do. That's why I was saying, the mind is the enemy in so many ways. It's so subtle, we don't even see it sometimes, that we're harming ourselves when we don't even know it. There was like some people say, get a rubber band, like one of those thick ones, and every time you criticize, just go bang, Then you start to realize how many, how many times a day you're criticizing, because you don't realize, because sometimes you criticize the weather. It's not just people, right? Or criticize your shoes, or criticize how it's hard to lock the door. God, this door is so hard to lock. You don't realize how many things you're complaining about. Until you go, hey, it's fun, do it, because your wrist is going to be red pretty fast, faster than you think. And after a while, it's like, this is painful. I can't complain anymore, because it hurts too much. Hare Krishna. Is that okay?
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you.
Partha, Prabhu.
So when you're talking about self-envy,
Yeah.
there's also, you're saying it's like self-harm also, and there's
Yes.
seems like there's a big, vast spectrum of that. And you were just mentioning how it was one individual, I think you said a disciple, who just had no sense of self-worth because of what they'd experienced growing up. And that can leave a lot of very intense trauma scars on those kind of individuals. Would you like to say something about the point at which individuals with those kind of experience would actually need some kind of counseling? I was just listening and thinking, okay, how would someone with those kind of extreme traumas receive a message if you're telling them that, well, you're just lazy and kind of browbeating? Would it be counterproductive? I mean, I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got my point.
Yeah. I have, everyone's affected by trauma differently, so I have different experiences. Sometimes it's amazing if you just say one thing and that it clicks with that person and it's like boom. And sometimes you say 108 things and it's like nothing has changed. So at that point, when we should always try to use our philosophy and our understanding of pastoral counseling and as best we can, because I always feel better with that, if we can do it that way. But there is this person who has been so ingrained with self-hatred that it's completely out of their comfort zone to feel good about themselves, and there's nothing you can do. That person, I would say, yeah. Like, if you feel like you've got some good Krishna conscious tools and you have knowledge of psychology and you put your best foot forward, and it still doesn't work, then either take a course on trauma therapy